You told me once that it was actually the students who wanted to put up this play.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see a connection between the wish of the students to choose, between the choice of the students and the wish of the parents to, some parents at least, to shut it down?
Some parents were very, very concerned. That they were concerned about, well, I heard, well, I got a number of different responses from parents. They were absolutely terrified about the notion of masturbation, one parent. A couple of parents...
Homosexuality was also...
Well, no, I'm going to come on to that. Just start with masturbation. I'll run through it again. They were one was terrified of the idea of masturbation, which, fair enough. Another was terrified, well, a couple were terrified of the notion of two boys kissing one another. In other words, same-sex people showing physical affection to one another. Another group were worried about the fact that there was, apparently there was going to be nudity in the play. And this kind of hysterical reaction to the play is something that the play has attracted all the way through its history, in its 100-year history. There is a scene in the play where two boys kiss. There is a scene in the play where a boy masturbates. And there is a scene in the play where a group of boys have a masturbation game. I'll go through those scenes one by one. The first scene where the boy masturbates is a boy called Henshin Miller, and he masturbates looking at pictures, looking at fine art. He gets turned on by fine art, and which in one sense is pretty positive. But he masturbates as a monologue. We didn't do that scene. We didn't do that scene essentially because I felt it would have been putting the boy concerned in a vulnerable position in relation to his peers. And I don't think that the play, as we were doing it, necessarily needed that scene. Although if I were doing the play for an adult audience, in an adult context, I would insist on doing that scene because I think that Wedekind is investigating human sexuality on one level in the play, and he's looking at heterosexuality, he's looking at isolated, sad, lonely sexuality as comes out of the masturbation scene, and he's also looking at same-sex sexualities, homosexuality. The homosexual scene, we rehearsed, and the two boys who rehearsed it were very mature about it, but I felt that they were unnecessarily self-conscious about what they were doing, so I pulled the scene. I didn't pull the scene because I was afraid of parental reaction to it. I pulled the scene because I didn't feel that the boys were convincing. I didn't feel that the boys were happy with the scene themselves, although they never articulated that to me. But I could see it, I could sense it when I rehearsed it. And I feel with things like that, there's got to be utter conviction from the point of view of the actors. Otherwise, they run a risk of making it look as if they've had their arms twisted to do the scene. And that would never be the case anyway, but I felt that the boys were less than convincing. And I felt that in that context, it was not right to expose them to a live audience. So I didn't. And in the case of nudity, there was no nudity in the play anyway. But one of the interesting points about the hysteria surrounding the opening idea of doing it, when we first introduced the idea of doing it, the hysterical reaction was coming from people who actually hadn't read the play, and as far as I know, still haven't. So, what can I say? I rest my case.